A little while later, Bob asked me to come up and stay at his house in Woodstock, on Birdcliff Road. He talked about doing more touring. Albert was looking into arranging a show at Shea Stadium with Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Bob's songwriting had struck a chord with Russian poets like Yevgeny Yevtushenko, which had even kindled the notion of touring in the USSR, though the very idea of performing behind the Iron Curtain sounded outrageous at that time. After what we'd just been through on the last tour, I couldn't help but think he must be a glutton for punishment. But I guess you can't keep a good man down. In my room at Bob's, I started recording some chord changes and melodies on a tape machine. This was a new kind of experiment to see if I could find a flavor, a sound, a feel worth writing words to. I labeled this tape Return of Luke the Drifter, after an alias of Hank Williams's from years back. The sound on the tape certainly didn't resemble anything of Hank's or country music, for that matter, but it did have hints of some otherworldly roots music. All the musical strands that we'd picked up along the way were starting to weave together. When I rode back into New York with Albert Grossman, he told me about a couple of sisters he was thinking about signing. "Actually," he said, "I think I'm going to sign one of the sisters." He asked if I would check her out and consider producing a couple of tracks. "She could do a great job singing one of Bob's songs," he said, "and I think it would be great to have the Hawks backing her up." They set up a meeting at Albert's office for me to meet this young singer. As Albert walked me in the direction of his office, he said under his breath, "I think you'll like this girl. Could be something special." We went in, and there she was. "Robbie," said Albert, "I'd like you to meet Carly. Carly Simon, this is Robbie Robertson." She stood up and overwhelmed the room. Tall, gorgeous, with a smile that went on forever. Albert smiled like the Cheshire Cat. I told her the other guys in the Hawks would be back in New York in a day or two, and it might be fun to cut a couple of tunes together. She said she liked that idea very much and gave me her phone number so we could set it up. Have to say I was curious to hear the sound of her singing voice. When the guys came back from Canada, we had a meeting at the hotel. Our first concern was to discuss finding a place in the city where we could work on our own music. The idea had always been that we would do this thing with Bob for a while, but our ultimate goal was to write and record our own stuff. Our friend the photographer Barry Feinstein came through with a temporary fix. We could use his photo studio to make music at night. We were thrilled with that idea, and Garth said he would hook up a little mixer so we could record any ideas on a borrowed tape recorder. I played the guys my Luke the Drifter tape, and though the sound wasn't exactly what I was looking for, there was a clue in there that Richard and Garth could relate to. Rick played along with the tape on bass, giving it a rhythmic drive that made drums unnecessary, like what some bass players could accomplish on an acoustic bass. I'd told the guys about Carly Simon, and a couple of days later, I called her to see when would be a good time for our little studio experiment. "Oh, I thought you'd probably forgot about it by now," she said. "It's only been a week." Carly laughed. "I know, I'm just excited." Right then I noticed a slight stammer in her voice, as if maybe she had stuttered a bit when she was younger. It sounded so sweet and vulnerable. The following week, we went into a studio and tried out some Dylan songs. Carly looked way too beautiful for anyone to concentrate fully on the production. I even told her jokingly that she couldn't dress like that while making a record. No one would be able to follow the arrangement and look at her at the same time. She blushed and pushed my shoulder. Her voice was rich and full. She didn't sound like anybody else, and originality always caught my ear. It didn't take long before I could tell this girl wasn't interested in being a singer of Bob Dylan songs. She was going to be her own thing, and just needed a little time to find it. We hung out the next day and the day after. Every once in a while, her slight stammer would sneak through, which got me every time. I don't know where we went, what we did, who we were with. Our connection felt almost dreamlike. I told Albert, "You're not going to cage this cat." Albert smiled knowingly. "Maybe you're right, but I think you're more interested in the artist than the art." That may have been true, but the last thing I was looking for at this point was anything too serious.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.